Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Share this link, share this link, share this link. I just have a few comments I'd like to make. Share the link, everybody. I want to address two issues. The selective outrage of the PPP ethnic hegemony, and there's selective outrage. And also, I want to address economic empowerment. So everybody share this link, get into all of your Guyanese groups, call up all of your friends, share the link. This is a matter that is of great importance to us, and we must address it. So share the link for me, and I'll be right back. Keep sharing the link, keep sharing the link. I'm seeing the comments. Text me, let me know where you're watching from. Share the link, everybody. Share the link. All right, welcome back. I've been reading the news papers in Guyana and seeing the comments, um, and I just don't think that the issues are being adequately addressed. Everybody keep sharing the link. Keep sharing the link. And as I look out at this beautiful American skyline, in the city where I'm right now. Everybody knows I've been traveling this weekend. So I've traveled to another city and I'm looking here um, at the beautiful skyline, and I'm saying to myself, why couldn't this be our country with so much resources? The infrastructure is magnificent. The layout, the environmental quality, I mean, everything here is perfect. And I look across the spectrum of comments in Guyana, and nobody's really talking about the development of the country, Keep sharing the link. The government has the primary responsibility for development of Guyana. And they're not concerned to me with development. All they want to know, I think all the government is concerned with, is suppressing part of the population, uplifting their supporters, and trying to get as much money as possible for their ethnic supporters. That's genuinely my view. The PPP came to power for nothing else other than power and money. They fought for it. They went through hell to rig the ballot boxes and do whatever they did to get those 15,000 more votes. 15,000 more votes. So that they could put their hands on Guyana's oil dollars. And President Granger facilitated that with no resistance. And it seems to me that there's a strategy, not it seems to me, it's apparent that there's a strategy or some sort of accommodation that has been arranged between the PPP and some members of the international community, certainly probably the ABC ambassadors in Guyana, that because of the perception or the claim that the APNU AFC coalition attempted to allegedly rig the election, to me, there's a plan between certain people in the international community and the PP government to suppress the entire population or part of the electorate that supports the AFC APNU coalition. It's very apparent to me. There's a deal, because the PP says it, Bart Jagdev says it. They're not going to allow them, the coalition, to participate in government, participate in society, participate in anything, because they attempted to rig the election. So, and the international community is quiet, silent about that. So, half the population of Guyana is being victimized, marginalized, subjugated by crooks themselves, political crooks in the PPP. To me, with the complicity of the international community. There's no other country in which the PPP can do the things that they're doing, and the American ambassador, the British ambassador, the Canadian ambassador, the EU ambassador, they're all silent about it. There is complicity now. To me, in my organization, there's absolute complicity. There's some arrangement, some accommodation in the diplomatic community that, okay, we will. It's funny. I'm looking here at the Trump Tower. There's a Trump hotel right in front of me. I'm now seeing it. But the international community must have given the PPP some sort of green light to go ahead and marginalize Black people, marginalize East Indian and Amerindians that don't support the PPP. It's apparent. So, but the thing is this, the PPP does not have the intellectual capacity to develop Guyana. The PPP does not have the intellectual capacity and the skill sets to even govern the country. They don't. The only person that pretends he has a concept of governance is Bar Jack Deo. And it's a concept because, and it's a pretense, because he's been in government forever and he has not gotten one thing right. He built the Marriott, he messed it up, took government money for a private venture, government ended up owning the Marriott. Built the Skeldon estate, invested, borrowed billions of dollars. It's now a mess, it's a white elephant, it's there, not in use. The Burbis River Bridge, yes, it's being used, but it's a colossal problem because they took people's money from their pensions to build that bridge. No, it's a fight, going to court battle, who controls what, whatever. They started a millions ward falls, hundreds of millions of dollars squandered, nothing yet. So, and their governance now is premised on revenge. The PPP government, the foundation of their government now, the entire objective of their government is revenge. And let me get to the issue of racism. I see people saying that there is no racism, PPP folks arguing that there is no racism. I mean, let me ask some questions. I did not even plan to raise this, but let me ask some questions. Let me ask some questions. Let me cite some examples. And you know, somebody should explain to me what if this is not racism, what it is. All right. So from the time the PPP government came to power, and these are just some of the things. These are just some of the things I'll highlight. Forgive me, I just happen to have my file next door and I wanted to give some evidence. Right, so the government came to power and within a week started confiscate lands. Start to confiscate lands. And all the lands they tried to take away belong to Black people. Sevons, Car Care, the people in the estates, compounds that purchased or leased homes. Nanlal went to West Coast Babis and told the people to go on Kojo McPherson's inheritance lands, break down the fence, put in their own fence, whatever. I'm not sure, what is that? Why are you only trying to take away Black people's lands? And here was their theory. Their theory is, okay, these lands were acquired after the no confidence motion. They on their own, the PPP, they have ruled that anything the government did after the no confidence motion is illegal. And all of the courts in Guyana rejected that. Even before they got into power, they tried to ask the court to do that, and the court said no. The court ruled that the government stays in power until the new president is sworn in. But the PPP, without any judicial sanction, on their own, determined that everything the government did after this no confidence motion was passed was illegal. And so they're trying to take away people's land. It is nonsense. It is absolute nonsense. They tried to argue that in court, and all of the courts, including the CCJ, rejected that, but they're implementing that. That's the first thing. So it is absolute nonsense. It has no legal basis. The government has no authority to take away these people's lands. In the case of Seaborn, they said it was sold and it wasn't supposed to be sold. There's a dispute about who owned the land. Instead of them going to court, they're moving to confiscate. The world's attorney general, he is the world's attorney general. He thinks he controls the world. So that's discrimination. That's racism. Why did they go after Indian people's lands? No, they went after lands owned by black people because they wanted to demonstrate power. Absolute power. They're more powerful than anybody else in the world. The PPP. That's what they want to demonstrate. And then the government started using the police force to go after only black people from the Elections Commission, former black ministers, former black CEOs, or black CEOs at the time, Calvin Heath London, Trevor Benn, all these people, Volda Lawrence, David Patterson, Keith Lowenfield, Roxanne Myers. And then they fired 300 black people from the public service. If that's not racism, what is that? Can somebody explain it to me? Come on, give us a rationale. If you're targeting only black people, give me a rationale. And don't tell me they're targeting opposition people, because the opposition people are black people that they're targeting. So it's still racism. They haven't targeted Indians except the mayor. And his case is unique because they want to fight, that's to me, an ethnic fight. They're targeting him because, yeah, he's with those black people from this coalition. That's what that is. And then they start targeting all the black talk show hosts and opposition supporters that criticize the government. Then they started using the police to go after black protesters. And the police is taking political directions from the government. And then the government argues, well, no, the police is black people. Yeah, but you got a house slave as a commissioner carrying out the functions or the directives of the politicians, not following the law that regulates the police. Palm trees in the police compound for 100 years represent the PNC symbol. Cut it down. We want no trace of the PNC. They want to remove every trace of the PNC from the government. And when they come into power, what's going to happen now? The previous government is going to remove every trace of them, rename the airport, change everything in the country. That's how they want Guyana to be. Then they arrest a black lawyer. Of all the people, they find a black lawyer to arrest. Why? Because she told her client that he has a right to invoke his constitutional amendment to remain silent when being questioned by the police. They arrested her, Miss Tamika Clark. No, the government has not apologized, not issued a statement condemning it, nothing. She's practicing her profession, following the Constitution, and she's arrested by Indian officers. And then the Attorney General confirmed that the police is taking direct orders from the politicians rather than follow the law. by saying he spoke directly to Soku, the head of Suku, the Special Organized Crime Unit, that arrested the attorney and instructed them to lose her and they release her. He didn't talk to the Minister of Home Affairs. He didn't talk to the police commissioner. He spoke directly to the unit within the police force. So they control everything in the police force. They could call up a commander and give instructions. Complete domination of the police force. They would call the sergeant at the desk, the police station sergeant, and give instructions. But this attorney's a black lawyer. They arrested her. Although the bar associations and women lawyers associations throughout the Caribbean condemned it, the government has not issued one regret, no apology, nothing. The matter is currently before the court. It tells me that the government embraced and endorsed what this officer did. This is the same officer who tried to arrest Paul Slow as well as he was going to court. If that's not racism, what is that? Afro-Guyanese citizens have been deprived of the COVID cash grants, the flood relief grants. Only mostly Indians got it. And then the government went out and paid all their East Indian supporters that worked for Gaisuko $250,000 on top of a severance pay they got from the ALPNU AFC coalition government. And on top of the cash grants and the agriculture grants some of them got. Only East Indians. What is that? I'm talking about the $250,000 grants. Mostly East Indians. Mostly East Indians got the flood relief grants. Farmers. Mostly. As a matter of fact, some black farmers from Mahaika had to go and create hell with the Minister of Agriculture. And then they started giving out to a few black farmers, probably 3%. And then the government fired over 300 black public servants. What is that? While the government was paying $250,000 in severance pay to Gaisuko workers and giving East Indians only mostly the cash grants for COVID relief and for flood relief, they're refusing to increase the public servants, mostly blacks, salaries, including teachers, to the 50% they claimed that they promised that they promised in their campaign manifesto. Why? What is that? Why are you paying Gaisuko, you're paying all these people, East Indians, but not the public servants? If that's not racism, what is that? The government is deliberately withholding taxpayer funds from budgetary subventions that's supposed to go through budgetary subventions for villages and towns and regions where black people live. What is that? They're starving Georgetown for funds. They're starving Region 4 for funds. They're starving the NDCs that black people live throughout the country for funds. If that's not racism, what is that? And when people started complaining, they crafted this thing, oh, one Guyana. One Guyana, and they're doing all these, practicing all these acts of discrimination. No wonder the people say it's one East Indian Guyana. That's what they mean. Then the government decided to defund the black organizations. You're in the middle of a crisis of racism. Everybody accused you of being racist. No, let us be more racist. Let us take away all the damn money from black people. All the subventions and the grants that black organizations got, the government took it away, major black organizations. So Barjack, they came up with this brilliant strategy. Let's criminalize all those black people, the black leaders, call them criminals and take away the money. Call the union, the black union leaders criminals. Call Vincent Alexander and the other members of the Ppp criminals, which is the International Decade for Peoples of African Descent Assembly of Guyana. It's an affiliate of an international organization created by the United Nations. And governments are required to fund it. The Granger administration funded it. PPP now coming to take it away. Oh, those black people, how dare them get money from this government, from this state? This state is an East Indian state. We run this place. We want to have total ethnic domination. So we cannot give black organizations money. So they took away money from the International Decade of People of African Assembly, Descent Assembly of Guyana, IPADG. They took away money from the African Cultural Development Association, ACDA, which hosts Folk Festival. No justification, no explanation. They tried to say that there was corruption. There's no audit proving that. Folk Festival, too many black people remembering to commemorate the abolition of slavery. We don't believe in that. As a matter of fact, we want to reinstitute slavery, so we're not going to give them any money. But in the meantime, hundreds of millions of dollars are going to East Indian cultural organizations, including the Arrival Committee, East Indian Arrival Committee, which celebrates the arrival of East Indians in Ghana. That's what we want to celebrate, not the abolition of slavery. No, 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 no. Those black people in Guyana have absolutely no significance to us in this nation. As a matter of fact, if you give us a chance, we will wipe out their history and their leaders. That's what they're saying to us, right? The government should tell us how much money they give to IPADG this year, how much money they give to ACDA, zero, how much money they give to the East Indian Arrival Committee and other East Indian cultural committees, organizations. And like I said, the government has arrested every single black opposition talk show host. Every single black opposition talk show host has been arrested, only blacks. The government has now embarked on a strategy of criminalizing every black leader. Paul Slow speaks out against them. Paul Slow is a criminal, a distinguished police officer, former. Rickford Burke is a criminal. Aubrey Norton is a criminal. Abanza is a low life. Every black person in Guyana, they condemn. Every black leader. You think about it. Name me one black leader that Ppp and Barjagdeo have not condemned and called names and stereotyped and profiled racially. Name me one. Not one. That they have not. Not one. Then, to even prove that they're criminals, the government uses the Cybercrime Act. Every black person that speaks out, the government sends the police to charge with cybercrime crime. Every person. In the meantime, the Indians can call us Negroes, sorry, the N-word, hungry belly dog, thief, criminal, whatever. The chair just called, the chair of the NDC in Region 6 just called Colin Moore a black dog. He was not charged. But every black person that speaks out is charged with cybercrime. A police officer came out, Dion Bascom, says that there's corruption, there's bribery going on in the force. They charge him with cybercrime. No investigation. It's an autocratic state. You can't speak out anymore. Neo-fascists sit at Freedom House and dictate who should be arrested and who's criminal, and Guyana is on the road to descent and to a road to failed statehood. All the extrajudicial killings, all the killings of Kami Wing, all black people, Kami Wing, Waddle, Boston, Kevin Andrews, Quindon Bacchus, Henry Boyce, not one single serious investigation. Not one, except there was some investigation of the Quindon Bacchus murder, forced by protest. And then the government come back and now charging the protesters with terrorism. In the meantime, the East Indian protesters in Monrepo, who had guns, cutlasses, they have not been charged. No, those are our East Indian brothers and sisters. They are not criminals. You can't charge them. They were standing up for their rights. They damaged public property, yes, but they had a right to do that because they're East Indians. That's the government's posture. The government has blocked Haitians from coming to Guyana, imposed a visa requirement in violation of the revised Treaty of Chagaramas, which is the treaty that established CARICOM. They were blocking African medical students. A lot of Nigerians students were blocked from coming to Guyana, medical students. Meanwhile, Brazilians, Asians, Cubans, Indians, Brazilians, they're all welcome to come to Guyana because they have straight hair. If that's not racism, what is that? The government sent the police to break into Christopher Jones's property, although there was a warrant from the court prohibiting them from doing that. Third away, to hell with the court. Go, and the police, police don't have an obligation to uphold the law. Our obligation is to the politicians who want political revenge. So yes, let us give them political revenge. They're in power. Break into his home, throw the court order away. No consequence. No consequence for breaking the court order. No consequence. And you notice there has never been an investigation of the police. They lied in the Boston matter, lied in the Quindon Bacchus matter 3 times, lied in the Kevin Andrews matter, lied in the Henry Boys matter. Not one investigation to figure out who it is the culprit in the police force committing these acts of malpractice, violation of the law, lying. The police force is now the weaponized section of the PPP to go after their political enemies. They're abusing the law, misusing the police force to attack political enemies. The government is giving 82% of contracts to East Indians. 10% is going to foreigners. And 80% of that 10% is East Indian from Trinidad. If that's not racism, what is that? And that's just a few. Now they're charging all the black boys who protest with or hang around protests with terrorism. So listen, I just give some examples. Oh, Makkah. They went and break down the home of black people in Makkah, treat them like animals, treat them like slaves, destroy their homes, their livelihoods, their cattle, their appliances, their furnishings. Black people can't get license to export gold and diamond. Black people can't get quarry license. Black people can't get contracts. Oh no, how dare you want contracts? Black folks can't get any oil blocks to purchase. Meanwhile, we know of some PPP East Indian supporters to whom they have sold oil blocks. And we're discussing that with the US government. So listen, and this is the purpose of this live. There is selective outrage all over Guyana among the PPP East Indian support base and the government over what people say. Burke says so, PNC says so, Takuma Gun says so, Dr. David Hines says so, PNC leaders say so, opposition leaders say so, AFC say so. Why are these people saying all these things? Why? What the people who are expressing outrage? Why are the people that you're so-called angry with making these what you call extreme statements? Why are they making these statements? I mean, they just dropped from Mars or just came up from Pluto or just fell off a mango tree and just start making these statements? What's engendering the statements? What's causing them to make these statements? What is causing the outrage of the Black community? Does anybody in the PPP care? Does anybody in the Ppp Hegemony care? Do any of the PPP supporters care? Why is the outrage in the Black community? Oh, they say there is racism. Oh, there's no racism. Let's move on. So the PPP has decided that there's no racism. Black people, what you're feeling is not racism. This is just our way of saying you guys are second-class citizens. We now live on a plantation and we will govern you. And while we have a few Black folks, you know, like Mark Phillips and Onis Waldron and Utah and the others, we will throw them some crumbs and get them on our side to say there's no racism. Have you ever heard a country that's not a racist country, not an ethnocracy, where the government tells the people how to feel? You ever heard of a society like that? That's what the PP is trying to do. The PP is trying to tell us, the people who are the victims of racism, no. That's not racism. That's not racism. That's political dominance. That's not racism. You don't know what is racism, people. You don't believe your lying eyes. Your eyes and ears, they're not working properly. The sky is purple, not blue. And you know what is fascinating to me? All of these people, Starbrook News, all of the different commentators, even some Blacks, I have never heard them 1 minute say PPP, Guyana is heading down the wrong road. Meet with the African Guyanese community to find out what are their issues and collectively come up with an amicable resolution of the issues, address their concerns. They're accusing you of racism, marginalization. Let us have a dialogue in this country. We will meet with AGDA. We'll listen to AGDA. We will meet with Critchlow, Labour College leadership. We'll meet with the opposition leader. We'll meet with some of the NDC leaders who are Black. We'll meet with the mayor who represents a significant portion of the Black population. We'll meet with the chairman of some NDCs. We'll meet with some civil society groups. We'll meet with prominent Blacks in the society. We'll start a dialogue and let's get to the root of the complaints of racism, which is eventually going to lead to instability. What foreign investor wants to come and invest billions of dollars into society which is rife with political instability? What investor? Particularly an environment of racial discrimination that can lead to civil conflict. And the government is not backing down. The government is okay, we have force. We will force you to stop saying racism. We'll force you to stop accusing us of racism. Whenever you accuse us of racism, we're going to charge you with a crime. Because we can be racist. That's our prerogative because we're East Indians. So we can be racist. We dominate you. We roll over you. We're in power. We can be racist. And if you only accuse us of racist, that is inciting racial hostility. So we will send the police to charge you. You cannot say that we are racist. That's a crime. How dare you tell us, superior slave masters, that we are racist? That's a crime. That's against the law. And we will charge you with a crime. That's their approach. They don't want conflict resolution. They want confrontation. Every day, confrontation, confrontation, confrontation. Which, you tell me one problem that the black population has complained about that this PPP sat and tried to resolve. One, no, confrontation. You're not doing our roads in the black villages. That is a lie, you're racist. And we're going to victimize you now and marginalize you because you said that. No, well, I'm going to send a delegation from the government to go down to Victoria or go down to Hansgrove or go down to Belladrum or go down to Lovely Lass, wherever. And we're going to meet with the village leaders there, and they're going to show us these roads that they say are not being done because of the black population living there. Let us investigate these issues. No, that is not the government's approach. The government's approach is confrontation. So you have the black community, the black population, bulldozing steam forward, coming down. They're coming down with a pace. You want to marginalize us, we're going to fight back. You want to subjugate us, we're not going to stand for it. We will overcome. We will defeat racism. We're confronting you with your racism. And they're saying, no, how dare you? And they're charging forward too. And we have guns, we have the police, we're going to shut your protest down. We're going to shoot and kill you. And we have a confrontation brewing in the country. No crisis resolution, no negotiations, no nothing. You have a one-seat majority in the parliament. One-seat majority in the parliament. And anybody that talks, no, we are the gods, we are the lords, we are the elites, we are the oligarchs, we own the country. How dare you speak of us and our racism? It's our inalienable right to govern you, black people. Not for 1 minute. This government has decided to engage the black leadership of Guyana. Listen, whether we like it or not, my assessment, we're heading towards civil conflict. And that's what the government wants. Why? Because the government feels the black population must not have a voice in Guyana. Why? Because, they support those people who try to rig the elections, and they support the people that they voted for, those people that after the no confidence motion, they challenged the thing in court. They challenged our superior motion in court. And these black people supported them. So the black people, we're going to beat them into the yard. We're not going to meet with them. They're not human beings. They're not worth our time. They have no share in this country. This is our country. This country belongs to East Indians and the PPP only. That's their approach. And you know what? The diplomatic community, I was talking to some government officials here, and I was telling them the diplomatic community supports this approach. The diplomatic community supports the PPP railroading the black population. They support it. They don't speak out against it. They support it. They support the Jim Crow approach. They don't speak out against it. But they were speaking out when Granger was in power. The country is barreling towards civil conflict. And the diplomatic community, they're busy going to these people's homes and shaking glasses and holding their babies, and shaking glasses. And But I have some things that I want to say to the black population of Guyana and the political opposition. We have to do something differently. The PPP is not going to budge. The government, their philosophy is black people should not be part of Guyana. Black people shouldn't govern Guyana. Black people shouldn't participate in the governance of the country except those who we sanction, who are weak and, just want to feel nice by having a nice fancy office and get some money here and there and, build some houses and get some kickbacks and, we must sanction which blacks must be rich and progressive. The PPP is not going to give 1 inch. They're not. The PPP does not believe black people should benefit from the wealth and the natural patrimony of Guyana. That is established, settled. If black people want power in Guyana, we have to form a coalition with East Indians who are not supporting the PPP, with Amerindians who are not supporting the PPP. We have to go out there and register all these people, all our supporters, from the time they get to voting age, 18 years, get them registered, go into the Indian communities and take our message, develop a vision for the country, develop a vision and sell it to the people. Let them know what you want to do for their children. Let them know what is your policy for their education. Let them know what is your cultural development policy to advance culture, to develop culture in the country. Let them know what's your economic policy. Desmond Hoyt had economic recovery. Let them know what's your policy for the oil sector. Let them know what's your policy for ensuring equitable distribution of the country's wealth. Let them know what's your policy for housing. Let them know what's your policy for land use. Let them know what's your policy for developing new communities, bursting the country open, developing the infrastructure, developing industries, bringing in investors, building roads throughout the country, connecting Brazil and Suriname and all the other countries. Your vision for building a new airport, a vision for the oil wealth. How are we going to use it to develop this country? How are we going to build modern infrastructure? How are we going to defend ourselves against climate change? What are we going to do about developing our sea defenses to make sure when the oceans rise, the ocean rises, Georgetown and the low-lying areas on the coast will be protected? This government doesn't care about that. In 10 years, Georgetown could be flooded underwater. In 10 years. This government is making no preparations. Let us hear your vision for the environment. Let us hear your vision for how you intend to protect the population from oil spills. How you intend to protect marine life from oil spills. This government doesn't talk about that. How you intend to enhance border security. There was a shooting 3 weeks ago between Guyanese and Venezuelan soldiers. The country doesn't even know. Guyanese soldiers were transporting fuel. They were attacked at the border, I think the Cayuni River. The boat could have exploded because they shot the fuel tanks that were in the boat. The country doesn't know. There's no transparency. Give us the vision, the opposition. Give us your vision for transparency. Give us your vision for enhancing democracy. We criticize the PPP. We criticize the PPP. Let us hear how you can enhance our democracy. Let us hear how you're going to make the parliament more democratic. Let us hear how you're going to make our regional democratic councils more independent and efficient. Let us hear how you're going to make the courts more independent and have an efficient judiciary so that every citizen can feel they can go and get redress in the courts for their issues. Let us hear how you intend to make the courts fairer, how you're going to appoint more competent, balanced judges. Let us hear that. I want to hear the vision of the opposition. And Black leaders, I want to know how are we going to empower ourselves? How are we going to empower the Black community? We have all of these young people in Black villages and mixed villages. They're unemployed. Unemployment in Linden is 60%. I want to hear the vision for how we're going to get these people employed, how we're going to bring industries to Linden, to bring jobs for these people. I want to know, are we going to create economic zones and get the EU and the World Bank and whatever, our oil money? How are we going to develop these villages? How are we going to improve them? How are we going to empower the people? I want to know that vision. And then we complain about not having contracts. While we force the government to implement a policy to level the playing field, I want to know, what are we going to do for our contractors? Are we going to train them to make them proficient in bidding for contracts? Yes, we know that these people qualify to contract. Black contractors qualify. The government don't want to give them because they're Black, because they don't want them to empower them. They don't want them to get money. While we work on the policy side to force the government to level the playing field, to ensure that Black contractors get contracts too, and there's an equitable distribution of the country's wealth through procurement, I want to know, what is the coalition's proposal or the opposition proposal or the Black leadership? What is your proposal to make sure that Black contractors aren't stiffed, given the short end of the stick? So I would like to see training for our contractors, how to bid for contracts. Perfect the bidding so they can't even tell you, no, you're not qualified. Pool your resources. I've been saying, if we have 10 contractors who know how to build roads, one contractor has the office equipment and the management skills, he must pool with the person who has the technical skills, who can draw up the plans, who can procure the equipment. If you can't do that, you merge with somebody who has the equipment, and you form a conglomerate. So you have the business side, the person who is excellent at management. This person is good at drafting out procurement applications and submitting them, ensuring that they comply with every aspect of the procurement requirements and the law. Ensure that you have your compliance in order. And you collaborate, you merge with the man who got equipment, but who got the office skills. And then you merge with the man who could expedite and get the workforce. That's a perfect bid. That's a conglomerate. And you bid for the billion-dollar contracts. And they can't tell you ain't qualified and you're eligible, because you would have met every aspect of the procurement requirement. And then I want to know, how are we going to deal with all these unemployed Black people, Black young people, and East Indians and Amerindians who don't support the PP, who they're not empowering? We have to train them. We have to take them off the streets. We have to go into the villages and teach them. They're not going to come out to us. They don't have money to travel to Georgetown. They don't have clothes to put on, some of them. They don't have the will, because They have not been oriented like that. Some of them. I'm speaking generally. I'm not putting down anybody. So how are we going to reach them where they are? Are we going to take training programs to the villages? Are we going to bring instructors from UG and Critchlow Labor College and Gaisuko Training Center and Government Technical Institute? Go into these villages and run courses for 6 months and qualify them, and then arrange for them to get job placements in the oil and gas sector, bring people from the oil and gas sector. Are we going to train them? Are we going to leave them behind? Are we going to just say, well, the PPP government is not doing anything, so we don't know what to do? Why don't we arrange job fairs? Go to all these companies, private sector companies, and check to see who have vacancies, and arrange a day so they could go into the villages or one central village and bring our young people to be interviewed, deliver resumes. That's how we do it in this country. We have to lend our young people a hand up. Then our young entrepreneurs need skills. Some people need to establish businesses. They have a concept. How are they going to get the capital? How are they going to get the capital to start the business? The East Indians have the capital because they could go to their own people. And while we force the government to level the playing field to make sure that there are fair banking regulations, fair policies and lending institutions, we have to do something on the other side. We can pool our resources. We can get grants from international institutions. We can form not-for-profits and access grants from the IDB and the World Bank and some of the other institutions. We got to become proactive. And grants are something that the government has an obligation to provide for the community. So we're not letting the government off the hook. Like I said, we're fighting for policy, but we have to have a two-pronged approach. How do we help our Black entrepreneurs build capacity? It's easy. Let us write to some international organizations, write to the UN. UN, listen, we have a large youth population. They're unemployed. We want to bring some training here. We want to bring grants. We want you to send some people here who can teach our people about resource mobilization, about capacity building, about management, business management. How are we gonna train young people to be tour guides or whatever? In America, the federal government now, under President Biden, realized that the procurement process has such a large disparity. He has now mandated the federal government that when in their procurement process, they must invest a minimum amount, I think is of $100 million. I could be wrong with the figure. In minority businesses. That's how you deal with the disparity in procurement. All of these white companies are getting bids and getting awarded contracts. Now, under Joe Biden, a certain percentage must go to minority. And every state and city is duplicating that. In New York, we had it forever. That's what we should be implementing in Guyana. If Irfan Ali wants to have political stability and wants the Black population to believe that he's governing for everybody, that's what he has to do in procurement. Because that's where the money is. The government money is being transferred through the procurement process to their supporters. And if you want to level the playing field, the government must be mandated that you must spend 40%, 50%, 45, 35%, whatever, on Black-owned businesses. That's how you'll get contracts going to Black contractors. We have to put these things in law. And then the government has an ad hoc scholarship program for our young people. We have a lot of young people qualified, need training. We as a society and the Black leadership haven't recognized that the PP government is not training our people. We can form partnership with companies abroad. We in the diaspora, we are willing to help and get scholarships for our young people to study abroad and don't depend on the government. So the reason I wanted to do this live is because I wanted to talk about the economic empowerment of the African population of Guyana, African Guyanese population. Empowerment, economic empowerment. We can't decide to sit down on the government anymore. The government does not want to do it. Like I said, while we fight through the international community and through the parliament and through whatever in the political process, we cannot sit by and give up our hands and leave the country to racists and to subjugate Black people. We can't do that. We have to find a way, a strategy to uplift the Black community parallel to the government and its supporters. That's my message. We have to find a way to empower the Black people in Guyana. And I also want to see in Guyana a powerful organization of attorneys and activists protecting the civil rights of Guyanese. We need a civil rights organization in Guyana. I've been urging it for the longest while. Too many people's rights have been abused, are abused. And they're poor. So most of the people can't afford a lawyer. So when you have poverty, people in poverty being disenfranchised, abused, beaten down, trampled upon, falsely charged, you're going to have destabilization. People are going to turn to different means. We need a civil rights organization. I want to call on all my colleagues, my friends in Guyana, the lawyers, the Black attorneys, the Black activists, form, incorporate a civil rights organization in Guyana. Let us look at the blueprint of the Black organizations in America that came through the civil rights struggle. That's why they formed the NAACP, the Civil Liberties Unions, League of Colored People. All of these organizations fought for, protect the rights and interests and liberties of African Americans. That's what brought Black people successfully through the civil rights movement. These are the organizations that put the structure in place to overcome Jim Crow abuses. I mean, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can use systems in place. And then let us bring in young people into the political process. Bringing our young people into the political process. Bright young folks are out there. Instead of trying to block them because you think they want to take away your job, bring them in, embrace them, get their ideas, train them. Somebody got to take up the mantle of leadership and take the country forward. We have a new generation raising up every day. ACTA has a lot of training programs. We should have a leadership cadet program, a Black leadership cadet program. Or, I'm saying Black because Black people are the ones disadvantaged, being disenfranchised and disempowered. But we should have a cadet training program for leadership for everybody. I'm talking about political leadership. We should identify from high school some of our young people that we know we'll send them to do law, we'll send them to do medicine, we send them to environmental science, petroleum management, dentistry, economics, accounting, finance management. Let us train these young people from high school and send them abroad, send them to UG, train them. We have to uplift the Black population. We cannot act as defeatists. The PPP, we know, will not budge 1 inch. So while we work on the political side with protests and the legal challenges and so on, let's work on the other side on a new track. Empower our people, economic empowerment. We have to have some form of economic engine to propel the Black entrepreneurs into successful business, propel people into being educated, create employment, move people out of poverty. That's my vision. That's my dream. That's what I want to see. Too many of our young folks are out there left on their own. You travel through, I get videos that people talk to me every day. A young man told me he's been trying to get a job for 3 years. He's from West Coast Demerara. He's qualified, he got a degree. That's unacceptable. And government can't employ everybody. And we have a private sector, that is booming now. It's developing rapidly. Let us train our people to take up the jobs in the private sector, whether it's in IT, whatever. That's my challenge to the Black political leadership and the Black civil society leadership and the Black organization leadership of Guyana. While we fight politically over here, we fight in the courts, we fight, let us also have a group, like in the football field. You know, football, you have American football, that is. You have a team for the defense and you have a team for offense. That's what we need in Guyana. So, as I wrap this up, thank you for listening. I've said a lot, but I want us to study what I've said. And let us go out there and try to fight for political empowerment, but at the same time, economic empowerment. We can't get political empowerment if we're poor. We need to build our economic base. And that's what I would like to see our leadership work on in Guyana. Good afternoon, everybody. Have a good day.